Hello, I'm Ross. Welcome back to the channel. Today I got a quick little video for you. I got a 2000 Jeep Cherokee right here, and this is something that a lot of you guys have, a lot of my customers have, real popular model. We got the 8 1/4 rear axle, very popular axle. It's on almost all the Cherokees. So this is the unibody XJ. So what we are doing today is I'm going to show you how to adjust the backlash. Now, this is a very small portion of setting up a ring and pinion in a differential, or maybe you just bought, you know, something second used hand. You know, you got something on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, you just bought one, you want to check it out. You might feel the ring and pinion sloppy, you know, even if you're not doing a ring and pinion change. So let's go show you, you know, what we're going to do, the steps taken, how to remove the axle shafts in the back, and we're going to make this really easy for you. So let's talk about backlash. What is backlash? Backlash is the relationship of when you're meshing a pinion versus the ring gear. So let's go show you down here what we're talking about. So this big gear right here, that is going to be your ring gear. And the guy sticking up there, you can see the head of it, that is the pinion right there, and that's what's going to be coming down directly off your drive shaft through the front of the housing right here. And what goes on is you have some mesh in there. So basically you have to have, if the two gears are coming together, they aren't going to fit together like tight locked, all right? They're going to burn up if you do that. So if you can imagine, if we have some space in there for the gears to do this, the reason you have the space in there, you have to have enough gear oil to get in between the surfaces to keep everything lubricated, to keep things from heating up and trying to weld together. Basically, that's what we're doing here. So if you have not enough backlash, things are going to be too tight, meaning, you know, if you can imagine my fingers being locked and close together. If you have not enough, or you have too loose a backlash, now imagine, you know, we're going to take our fingers here and we're going to increase the gaps in between the fingers. That would be too loose, so the gears would be doing this. So what you would experience with a loose backlash is a lot of clunking, thuds. You're going to have, you know, a lot of noise going down the road. That's what you're going to get. Now the problem is when you also have too much backlash, is the strength of the gear set, the way it's meshing together, it's actually going to be a lot weaker, and you're prone to just breaking teeth right off the ring and pinion gears themselves. So that's why we want to set these up correctly. And even if you get one, you know, that is worn out, you know, used, and it's still got some factory gears or some aftermarket gears, you want to check this. So you want to get them set correctly. And what correct is on this application, it's the book calls for 6 to 10 thousandths of backlash. I like to set them up 6 to 8. That's how I'm going to do it. You're going to get good freeway manners. You're going to get good off-road manners. And what actually happens is after you start to warm up the gear set driving down the freeway or on the trail, the gear it's actually going to get a little bit tighter because everything's heating up. So the parts are going to get closer to each other. So let's get in here. Let's go show you what we're looking at here. So if you're not familiar, this is a dial indicator right here, and this is going to measure everything in thousandths. So let's see if I can get this light off a little bit. Come on, dude. Anyway, so this is from Harbor Freight right here, the little Centec. The base is also from Harbor Freight. It's magnetic. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to put it on one of these faces of the teeth. And what I do is I usually put a wrench on one of the ring gear bolts, and you're going to rock it forwards and backwards. And this is what we're looking for right here. So if we can get in here, and you're going to feel also too when you're rocking it, you want to get to the spot where the gears just touch each other. You're not trying to rotate the whole diff around. You're just getting to feel it go forward and touch one way, go back the other way. And so what I do is I get these set at like a neutral position. I'll actually rock this all the way to one side to where I can feel it stop, and then I'll center my little dial indicator right at 0. So right there you can see we're at 0, and then when I go rock it the other way, That's right at the stopping spot right there. So I know this little gauge is dirty and it's not picking it up, but we are at 7 thousandths of backlash right there. So that's right where I want it. This rig came in here with 10 thousandths of backlash in here. Yeah, it's in spec, but you know what? It's not gonna, you know, have that good of a long life cycle. So that's why we went in here and fixed it. Now, what are the steps required to get this backlash set up? So let's go here. We're gonna start off. I already got this rig done. So what you got to do first, take the tire off. Your drum cover's gonna come off. That's the drum cover. And then you got an axle shaft that needs to come out. How do we get the axle shaft out? Oh, I'm gonna show you. So this is going to pertain to several different carriers right here. So in this case, we have the Yukon Duragrip right here. And what you got to do is there's going to be a cross pin right here in the center of the carrier. You have to take this stud bolt out right here and you just unscrew it. It's going to come out this way. After that's free, you can start to pull this pin out towards you. Then what you got to do, let's actually get this, let's just take this off. Let's go rotate this so we can look at what's going on here. All right, so in here, there's going to be an opening right here after this cross pin's out. There's going to be these little clips in here. So these are actually going to be put, they're going to be slipped in here on the inside, just like that. So what you're going to notice over on the axle shaft, there's this little space right there. And the reason we have that space right there is these little clips are literally just sitting on the end of that shaft right there. So what we're doing is we're just pulling these straight out. Now what you actually got to do is when this shaft is pushed here in the end, you're just going to take your hand and lightly push it in just a little bit more. Because when you be able to push it in, what's going to happen is this little clip right here, it's actually recessed in a little bit when it's sitting in there all untaken together. And when you push the shaft from the outside of the vehicle towards the carrier, this clip is actually going to come out just a little bit, and that's going to give you enough room. You're going to get in there with your little magnet, you're going to click it on there, and you're going to pull it right out. That's how we get those off. So you're going to do that on both sides. Now there's another step involved in this. The next step is there's these little adjusters. These are actually going to be put right here on the sides, and they're held in. There's a little bolt right there. You have to take the little bolt off. Now it's hardly any tension on the bolt. It's really easy to do. And then you're going to notice right here on the sides, there's these little like grooves in here. And what these are for is right here on the sides. Let's see if I can get it. There's some little holes on the adjuster right there, and these are going to drop in down on the sides, and there's a little spot, and what that does is it keeps the preload on the carrier bearings, and it keeps them from rotating and backing off. So what we're going to be doing here, in order to adjust these things, take the shafts out, take those little clips off I just showed you, and then what you got to do too, let me go show you that there's a tool you're going to have to buy. So I don't know if we can get in here and see, but straight down in the end, there we go. So there's an adjuster down there all the way down at the end, and there's an adjuster that is literally bolted right under this carrier cap, one on each side. And what we're doing with the backlash is all we're doing is we're taking this ring gear and we're either scooting it towards the pinion or pulling it away from the pinion. So if we need it tighter, this ring gear needs to go closer this way towards the pinion. If we need it looser, the ring gear's got to go this way. So what I do is I put my dial indicator set up like I showed you in the beginning of the video. We're going to check it. In this case, we had 10 thousandths, so I know a starting point. So I knew I needed to get the backlash smaller. So it means we need to get the ring gear shoved more towards the pinion. So what I did, you're going to take this tool right here. Let's just show you without it on there. This is a socket right here. This is from OEM Tools. I got this at AutoZone. It's going to be a little hard to see, but there's a part number 25072. And see how it has these little 4 teeth on here? So what these are going to do is these are going to actually engage right into that little adjuster, and you're going to use these to loosen it or to tighten it. So I take 2 1/2-inch extensions, get that sucker put in there, and for visualization purposes we're going to shove it right through the end in here. And what this looks like is it's going to go into that little adjuster right in here, but from the inside. Now in order to get this to fit in there, you have to take a few things off. So here you have a little, on the breather right here, you got this little guy. This is actually protruding through the axle tube, and if you don't remove that little breather, it's just going to stop. It's not going to go all the way in. And then if we go over here to the passenger side of the axle tube, there's a couple more things as well. You have this brake line right here, and there's a bracket right here. You can see it had 2 bolt holes in there, and this is all it is. It's just 2 of these guys. You got to take those out as well, otherwise it's going to stop. Now this is going to be like probably the hardest part for most people. You have a outer seal and an outer bearing for the axle shaft, and in order to do this job with the tool I'm showing you, you have to remove these bearings and seals. And then what we have here is, this is a seal kit from Yukon Gear and Axle. There's the part number 1559, and so this is, the seal is going to be right here at the end, and you got to pull that out. Let me show you what a sealed remover tool looks like and how we're going to go about it. So this is going to be your tool right here. You can buy this at Harbor Freight, AutoZone, O'Reilly's, wherever you want. And you're just going to put it here on the inside, and you use this little pivot point as leverage, and it'll just pull that seal right out. There's really nothing involved with it. This is going to be the next tool you're going to need. This is from a slide hammer kit right here. Again, I got this at Harbor Freight, and what you're going to do, this bearing kind of blew up coming out. Let's just set that in there, and then usually there's the cage and everything. So what you do is you're actually going to put these teeth, you're going to adjust them. Let's open this up so I can visualize like it's fitting. You're going to clench those guys in there, and then you tighten this down. And what these are going to do, if you can imagine, that's grabbing the back side of that bearing, and then you're going to use this, and you're going to bring it back and forth. And what that's going to do is it's going to hammer the shit out of it, and it's going to pull that bearing out. So if it blows up like this one did, don't worry about it, because you're going to be replacing it anyway. So expect it to happen. And the seal too, you're not going to be reusing the seal. So this was the other bearing that came out. It suffered, you know, some damage too, but who cares? So, and then so that's what we look like brand new. So it's a coil bearing, a real good one. So after you get those pieces taken out, then you can fit the tool through there. So if we have, let's say, too much backlash, like I had 10 thousandths, the way what I do is I'll go over to this driver side over here. I'll barely crack this one loose, so righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, just to loosen it up a little bit. And then I'll crack this one off too. I'm skipping a step. Before we can crack it loose, you have to take these carrier caps, and you're going to just barely break these loose just a little bit, all 4 of them. So you have to do that. That's going to put a little bit of relief. The cap's just going to barely be loose, and then the threaded adjusters will be able to spin a lot easier. So that's what you got to do. Then we're going to go back in. You're going to loosen this side up just a little bit to release the tension. You're going to go over to the other side, release the tension as well. And since we're making things smaller, tighter again with the fingers, so we can get more closer to the 6 to 8 thousandths range, we're going to take this and we're just barely going to about 1/8 of a turn. So let me just go grab this and kind of show you so you can see kind of what we would be doing here. So here's the tool. This guy's going to go in. Here, let me grab all right, it was just a spam call. So we got the adjuster in there, the adjuster tool. We're shoving it into the adjuster. Got our 1/2-inch ratchet right on the back. And then what we're going to be doing is, since we got to bring the ring gear closer to the pinion, we're going to loosen this, so lefty loosey. So if we're just going, you know, 2 to 4 thousandths, I'm literally going to take this ratchet right here, and I'm going to go, you know, start with about, you know, 30, 45 degrees. That's as far as I'm going to turn it to loosen it, so it's not very much. I'm going to do that, and then we're going to go over to the other side. We're going to take the same tool, we're going to stick it back in there, and then we're going to take this one, and instead of loosening it, we are going to tighten it to force the driver that way towards the passenger side of the vehicle. So we're going to crank on that thing and give it a moderate amount of tension. You know, you're going to put about 80 foot-pounds on the thing, so you have to preload the bearings some, and that's what we're doing with putting some force on there. So what that's going to do is it's going to scoot the whole ring gear in just a little bit over towards the pinion, just a smidge. Then we're going to go back over to the passenger side, and then we're going to tighten that one this time so we can put some preload onto those carrier bearings. Then we're going to take our dial indicator and we're going to check it, and we're going to see the progress on there. Did it move, you know, too much? Did it move too little? And then we're going to repeat the process until it gets right on target. Once you get the backlash that you know you need, and you have carrier bearing preload on both of those drivers, then you're going to go back and you're going to take a torque wrench. You're going to put it back on these two carrier bearing caps. So you got the 2 bolts here and the 2 bolts there. You're going to tighten them to spec. Don't hold me to this. I got to go look back in my manual. I do this on every axle set just in case, but I think it's around 60 foot-pounds. You're going to tighten that down, and then you're going to recheck the preload. I mean, sorry, not the preload, the backlash on your dial indicator. And because sometimes even after you tighten that down, sometimes the backlash is going to change just a little bit. So if it does change, don't freak out about it. Just make the appropriate adjustment. If it made the backlash, you know, too tight, well, just loosen those carrier caps back up, and then you're going to move the ring gear away from the pinion just a little bit. So what I start to do is you'll get this down by feel. I'll just crack it just a little bit on the driver's side, and then I'll go back to the passenger side, and then I'm going to go tighten everything down. Got a customer showing up, so we're going to continue this video shortly. All right, so I found this setup specification sheet from Yukon, and if we go down here where it says Chrysler, why does this just not look very good? Here, let's clean this camera. Anyways, Chrysler 8 1/4. We want to have 6 to 10 thousandths of backlash, and then that ring gear cap is actually at 90. This just doesn't seem like it's zooming in very good, but anyways, so 90, so I mean 60. So I was right when I first said it. 60 foot-pounds is what you want those carrier bearing caps to be set at. Then you're going to go recheck the backlash and make sure it didn't move. And the order of operations is really simple. To make the install go back together. So after you put everything back together, what you're going to do is after you recheck the backlash, you're going to go put these little adjusters, the tighteners, back on. So remember, these are going to get clicked on right there and bolted down. Do you have to put Loctite on? It's kind of up to you. I don't like to do Loctite on those. I don't feel it's ever a needed thing on there. If you're gonna, I would recommend some blue, because having one of those snap off with red's really not going to be fun at all. And then you need to install the bearings. And in order to install the bearings, you need a little driver kit. So you're going to take this bearing right here. You're just going to set it right in there. Driver kit's a round slug with, you know, a little post on there, and you're just going to set it on and tap it in. You know, that's all there is to there. And then you're going to do the same thing with the seal. The seal is going to go in last. It orientates pretty easy, so you can see the spring on the inside. That's going to always face towards the inside. And then what I do is I take a little bit of either gear oil, a little bit of grease, smear it on the inside of the lip right there. Then same with the axle shaft bearing surface where it rides, which is, you know, right here. Put a little bit of grease on there, take the axle shaft, slide it back in, and remember, we're going to have to push it in a little bit farther. Then you're going to go take the C-clip right there, C-clip's gonna get dropped straight in. Once it clicks in, then you're gonna go over here, you'll grab the axle shaft, and then you'll barely pull it out just a little bit, and that'll lock it in. Repeat that on both sides. Your cross pin, I like to have it right about this angle, because when it comes out, it's gonna come out towards you. So to reinstall it, you're gonna push it right back in. There's a hole in here, you have to have that lined up. That way this bolt stud will line up and go through there. You just screw that in snug. That'll cover that. And then you're gonna put your drive line back on. Then you got the little the bolts right up here for the brake line, the breather line, brass nipple. You just screw that back on, put the vent tube back on. Then you're gonna take the brake drum, slip it right back onto the studs on the axle shaft. There's nothing to that. Clean up the mating surfaces for the diff cover, put it back on with some silicone, a gasket, whatever your flavor is. Then you're gonna fill it with oil. If it's got a posi like this, you gotta put the limited slip additive in there with the 80-90 gear oil. And with the DuraGrip, you know, it's very specific, 80-90 non-synthetic gear oil, otherwise it'll make noise. But that's about it. So that's the Backlash explained on the Jeep Cherokee Chrysler 8 1/4 axle. It's a real easy axle to work on and service, and it's a pretty strong axle. So again, these bearings and seals, these were sourced at Yukon. I can get them for you if you need to get them. I can ship them right to your door. Same with any of the Yukon gear and axle products. So ring and pinions, carriers, whatever you want. And I always highly recommend the Yukon extended service warranty to make the parts lifetime warranty. So if you need any of that stuff, give me a call, 530-244-7709. I do cards over the phone, and I can drop ship this right to your doorstep. So if you have any questions, put them in the comments below. I would love to hear what you want to know about. What do you want to see me make a video about? And you know, we'll go about it and make it, and I'll answer your questions the best I can. I've been doing ring and pinions in business for 17 years. I really like doing them. I had no idea what I was doing when I first learned how to do them. There's a certain procedure involved in doing it. If you follow the math, you're gonna get a good outcome every single time. I mean, the whole thing is math. So if you're unsure how the gear patterns are coming out, it's really all just math. So ask me if you need any questions. I'll tell you what to do the best I can to answer you guys. And you know, you can email me too. You can go to my website, flexpoint-offroad.com. You know, there's a email link section there, you know, so you can get a hold of me all kinds of different ways. I would really enjoy to help you guys out. I like to share my information and knowledge. It helps me to help you. So thanks for watching. If you like this video, like and subscribe. You know, I need more subscribers. Let's get to that 500 count. Have a nice day today.